Is Ripple finally and officially date set? Will this be a final ruling? A joint proposal has been made to the Southern District Court of New York by both Ripple Labs and the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, marking a new phase in the ongoing legal dispute between the two entities. Court papers pertaining to the forthcoming remedies phase of the case will be sealed and redacted in accordance with the steps outlined in this proposal. While recognizing the necessity to safeguard certain sensitive information, the plan stresses openness. The goal of both sides is to make sure that the public may obtain their briefs quickly and with as few redactions as feasible. Timeline for brief filings agreed upon by SEC and Ripple. Although the necessity to safeguard sensitive material is acknowledged in the March 19, 2024 proposal, the parties' dedication to public access to the case is emphasized. It specifies the following due dates for submissions and edit. Secret materials pertaining to the SEC's opening remedies brief and accompanying materials will be filed on March 22, 2024. During this first stage, all parties involved have the opportunity to examine the documents and detect any sensitive information. The SEC and Ripple will have a meeting on March 25, 2024 to go over the SEC's opening brief and decide on any necessary redactions. Reducing the amount of censored information is the goal of this collaborative approach. The SEC is scheduled to submit a public opening brief on March 26, 2024, with the agreed upon redactions included. Furthermore, any supplementary materials that are not considered confidential shall be made available to the public. Ripple is scheduled to submit its opposing brief and accompanying materials on April 22, 2024, only when absolutely required to do so by the SEC in order to safeguard designated private information will these be filed publicly with redactions. If Ripple's documents contain classified data, a meeting will be scheduled to discuss redactions on April 23 to 24, 2024. Then Ripple will file a public opposition brief with the redactions already applied. From May 6 through the 8th, 2024, the SEC will meet to discuss redactions after submitting its reply brief under seal. Subsequently, the reply brief and any non-confidential supplemental materials will be made available after redaction. Ripple and the SEC decided to keep certain aspects confidential. Significant developments have occurred in the XRP lawsuit between Ripple Labs and the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. In a joint move to seal important details contained within the remedies-related briefings, both parties have proposed preventing their public release. This development follows the most recent court filing in which Ripple Labs and the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission formally moved to seal the documents, because it will ensure that the public will have speedy access to the parties' papers. With some redactions, the counsel for the plaintiffs and defendants have asked Judge Torres to adopt the plan. Several details on the post-complaint financial statements in Ripple. If the request is approved, XRP and institutional sales could be kept secret from the XRP army and the cryptocurrency community. The market sentiment will be affected because the expected decision and end date of the lengthy case between the SEC and Ripple Labs are uncertain. Also, just so you know, the parties have come up with a schedule for redactions after the reply papers to the SEC's opening brief on remedies are due on May 6th. The Securities and Exchange Commission's opening brief on remedies, along with any supporting declarations or exhibits, is submitted under seal on March 22nd and 25th. A meeting is called to discuss the redactions in order to identify them. Following the redactions requested by parties and third parties on March 26th, the SEC has submitted a public version of the brief that has been redacted. Ripple will submit a redacted version of their opposition brief and related materials by April 22nd, the deadline for such submissions. The 6th of May is the day set for the secret submission of the SEC's rebuttal brief. After further redactions have been discussed, the parties are expected to meet in the coming days to submit a revised reply brief. Everyone engaged, including third parties, has until May 20th to file their written motions and oppositions to the filing detail sealing. Judge Torres is scheduled to throw down the ultimate verdict the following year as a result of this, and the lawsuit will likely drag on for additional months. Bill Morgan, an attorney for ProXRP, responded to the proposal's seal proposal by saying that the SEC is planting the seed to reveal Ripple's post-complaint. It was never the intention for XRP sales contracts with organizations to be made public. Judge Torres' decision to continue the litigation will be closely watched by the XRP army, who are unhappy with the ongoing delay and want the lawsuit resolved this year instead of later. This decision will be made in light of power oversights. A new lawsuit against the SEC and sanctions imposed on the SEC due to the gross abuse of power delegated by Congress in the debt box case. Ripple and the SCIC are set to meet and confer on March 25th, 2024 to determine the redactions that will be applied to the supporting papers of the SEC's opening brief. We want to find and reduce the scope of redactions so that the public has access to the greatest amount of data possible using this collaborative manner. Following the conclusion of the meet and confer session on March 26, 2024, the Securities and Exchange Commission will release the public version of its opening brief. Only those redactions agreed upon by all parties or third parties during the meeting will be included in this version. To further enhance transparency during the proceedings, any supporting exhibits that are not marked as secret or extremely confidential would be made available on the public docket as per the protective order. April 22, 2040 is a special day for Ripple as the XRP ledger adds support for Brazilian real stablecoins. If Ripple's opposition brief and accompanying materials do not include any information that DCA has classified as confidential or highly sensitive, then Ripple is expected to submit them. The files will be made public with certain information redacted. At the same time that the public gains access to the case's developments, classified material will be retained. April 23, 2024 is the date set for this meeting. The goal of the conference is to discuss the specific redactions related to Ripple's opposition brief and the supporting documents in the event that these files include confidential information. The redacted version of RPL's opposing brief will be made available on April 24, 2024. This updated version will be shaped by the discussions that occurred the previous day. Ripple will continue to be transparent while adhering to the agreed upon redactions to protect sensitive information. The climax of the Ripple versus SEC battle is rapidly approaching. The SEC must submit a redacted public version of its reply brief, along with any supporting exhibits that are not considered confidential or highly confidential. It is also necessary to highlight the ongoing effort to find a middle ground between the public's right to access information and the need for anonymity. The scheduled contributions are now complete, and this is the last stage. On May 13, 2024, the parties and any third parties involved in the proceedings will submit the omnibus letter motions to seal documents pertaining to the briefing on remedies. A comprehensive approach is being implemented to manage sensitive material inside the case, as evidenced by the briefs, declarations, and supporting exhibits, along with the proposed redactions to these documents. The deadline for the parties and any interested third parties to submit written briefs opposing the omnibus motions to seal is May 20, 2020. Because of this, discussing the need and extent of sealing specific papers and information will be much easier. The XRP community will not have access to any insights at this time. The party's dedication to transparency is officially demonstrated by this meticulously organized chronology. While doing so, it safeguards sensitive information while keeping the public fully apprised of the case's development. However, Bill Morgan is closely monitoring the situation from the perspective of the in contrast. For everyone who thought the public would be informed when the SEC succeeded in its move to require disclosure of Ripple's post-compliance contracts with institutions. That's all for now.